Hey folks, it's Jeremy Kirkland. You're listening to Blammo. How are we doing? We hanging in there? We hanging out? Are we surviving? Are we thriving? Oh man, it's look, I don't know how it is out there, but it's cozy in here. And I'm very glad you're here listening to the pod. My guests this week are the co-owners of Merz B Schwanen. Did you hear me say it right? Did you hear me nail it? Man, look, I'm not gonna lie. I did a little bit of extra pronunciation coaching before I recorded this intro. It's Merz B Schwanen. I'm trying to do it. Some just say Merz, but we all know the brand. We all love the brand. Gitta and Peter Plotnicki, the life and business partners, and yes, co-owners of Merz B Schwanen. Man, this was a great pod. You all know I love clothes. I love fits. I also love to admit my own idiocy and how I get dressed. But I'll be honest, what I really, really love, like what I love doing this pod is talking to people about how they're maintaining a career doing this. I think we all know, like, making clothes is hard. It's very, very hard. And running a brand is hard, especially in this day and age. But Gitta and Peter, they do it incredibly well. And it was an absolute joy to speak with them about it on the pod. We discussed the infamous bear shirt, the bear t-shirt. We all know the one. How they went from loop wheel to a full collection of sportswear, product over brand, the importance of customer input, how their personal styles reflect the collection, and more. It's all in there right here on Blammo. Let's go.
I actually was in Berlin since February when we finalized the fairs and the sales season. And since then, working on the collection and trying to get the products on point, talking to production sites. And I was traveling to Portugal, but now I'm back in Berlin.
Yeah, I was 3.5 weeks in the US. So mostly in New York, 1 week in Florida and in Miami. So I had a great time as always. Yes,
Nice.
Especially New York. I really love this city. And so I'm always happy to be there. Yeah.
New York is a great city, but you two live in Berlin, which in my opinion is the greatest city.
Oh, thank you so much.
That's serious.
Yeah, it is nice. It's really nice. It's very vibrant, especially in summer. In winter, actually, I prefer New York because there's much more blue sky and more sunny days.
Yeah.
So we try to get the best of both.
Yeah. Winter in Berlin sometimes is really depressing. So 6 to 10 weeks, no sunny day. It's
Oh, really? Is it that long?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it can be quite challenging. So we really enjoy the sun in New York.
And
I guess I've only been there in the spring and the summer.
Yeah.
So
that's amazing. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Anyways, for me in New York, in every day the sun is shining. So even it's cloudy. So
it is a great city for sure. How has market been for you? So, I mean, we're recording this in early spring, but you all had just kind of wrapped up some of the market appointments.
To be honest, every time when we're at the fair and we finalize the season, I'm totally overwhelmed because I'm like literally so grateful and so happy because the market is really good and more customers want to or do order our garments, and the ones we already have, they're ordering more, and just getting this kind of feedback, it really makes me so happy. I don't know. It's like birthday and Christmas at once. It's just it's just like, because then you know for what you do all the work. If you see that people really enjoy what you're doing, and then if you can do something that is enjoyable for others, I think for me, it's the best. I mean, this really makes me happy.
Yeah, and I think especially returning customers to see that the business with our products is doing really well. So they are increasing the orders, and they are sometimes like so excited. We were so fast sold out with your products, and it's absolutely amazing. And that's I think one of the best feedbacks you can get.
Well, and for me, I mean, I had kind of always associated Merz as a shirt brand, like a t-shirt brand. And this is pre the bear, which we'll talk about and all that other stuff. But like for me, it was just really, really well made, beautiful, like classic pieces of clothing, like, t-shirts and shirts. But I think this year really took me by surprise, specifically with the spring summer 25 collection. Now I know that you guys just wrapped up, fall, but seeing the evolution of you all go from like kind of like, very good singular pieces to these full collections is really exciting. So before we get too into it, I do want to, discuss, what led to this or forgive me if I'm mistaken. Was it always this way?
Oh, thank you. First of all, thanks for pointing that out. That is really nice and kind of you. So actually we started, as you said, with t-shirts and handlays and jerseys. But how do you say, like in our mind, in our back mind, we always had this dream of one day having like these timeless classic essentials made of good quality. So we always step by step added a new category. At one point, it was knitwear, some accessories. Then it was maybe a woven shirt. Then we were super courageous and experimental, and we did the pants. And so step by step. And now, to be honest, sometimes I'm in our showroom or in our store, and I'm like, wow, we really got a lot different styles now. And we all made them, and it's nice to see. And then when you mentioned that it's like a full collection that's having this awareness, now we're really having like a full collection, and that customers like it and that they buy it and not just stick to the t-shirt, but more and more, even the woven styles, especially the knitwear in winter, are getting like so much more attention now. Yeah. And we're shifting away from the t-shirts, and that's, I think, very exciting to see.
Yeah. So I think this autumn-winter 25 season, it was also in terms of different product categories, a kind of game changer for us. So we recognized the acceptance through all product categories. So there was a big demand on shirts, on our jackets. We expanded the line, our pants line. And I think it's for us amazing to see that we are able to grow out of our DNA, which is, of course, the T-shirt. And but that we as a brand, we have, I think, meanwhile, this kind of acceptance that also products completely out of a T-shirt category are really working. And on our wholesale business as well through our D2C channels. And this is such a great movement and also an amazing opportunity for the future. And when we did our shootings, model shootings for autumn-winter, it was crazy to see from head to toe. It was all Merz, no? The cap,
even the cap,
all the layering, and the shoes not. Maybe we will find a nice collaboration partner for making shoes in the future. But yeah, other than that, it's all our product, and that makes us very proud and thankful, of course. Because, so our customers, they are following our vision, which is amazing.
Yeah. I think, we've spoken with a lot of other brands and other people who have scaled their business. And a lot of people will start with everything these days, where it feels like if you're a new clothing brand, you will start with a full silhouette. You'll have a shirt, a pant, all these things. And, while that is a bit of a challenge, I think many people forget and aren't aware of how difficult of a challenge it is to go from a single product to the full collection and vision. And I'm kind of curious what led to some of these ideas and on a design perspective, like what do you do, to kind of help create that? Basically, like, to kind of rephrase my question, like, what led to making a full collection and what design thoughts and elements were you thinking of when you were making that?
So making a full collection, as I mentioned before, was always like our vision. And we started with the jerseys and we said, let's first do those ones good. And if we believe now we have the capability of expanding, we're going to go to another product category. But to be honest, as we're both absolute like clothing, textile product enthusiasts, it's always, I know it sounds like so random, but sometimes we think like, oh, we really would love to have a shirt like this, but I just don't find it. So why don't we do it on our own? So, we design everything still, like every single piece we design on our own. We make the sketch, we make the drawing. I'm making all the measurement charts, even like the size of the button, like everything is still made by us. And it's always like this heartfelt piece. So if there's one garment more in the collection, you know it came from our heart. It was not like a concept like, oh, now we're going to do this or that. It's more like the pants. We have the Chino 01. It was a pants that Peter
Great
had.
Silhouette.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Peter had, I think, designed it like at least 15 years ago and always had it made at the tailor shop for himself. And then we said, oh, why don't we put that into the collection? Or I had a knitted pullover I once made on my own, and so many women asked for it. So now we had it in production. So this is more the way how it evolves. Also, we also wanted to show that we're more than just a t-shirt, and especially after the bear, which we're very grateful for. But we really wanted to show our customers, like, you know what, we're not lazy and we're not, now people know us because of the t-shirt. No, it was our aim to say, let's show the people that we can do more and that we want to provide more of our items. So I think that was like the very enthusiastic idea behind this huge new autumn winter collection that we just showed.
Yeah, since we moved to explore also the possibilities in Portugal with Portuguese production sites, our possibilities are much bigger. But maybe let me explain it also like this. So our business, it was always like product first. So it was always everything around the product. So at the first years, there was no marketing strategy. There was not this kind of tools. Maybe other business when they started have everything in place. So we were kind of product nerds, and it was always about the product. And till today, before we decide for a new product and before we decide, okay, let's put it into the line, there are a lot of thoughts and a lot of kind of filters the product has to go through, that at the end we are happy to integrate a new product into the line. And because I think it's very essential for us to, at the end of the day, to keep the line timeless and classic. So I think this is one of our brand identity. Somehow.
I actually wouldn't call it too classic in a sense. Timeless, yes, but we still are adapting more contemporary silhouettes and shapes. But I know what you mean.
So I think we don't play with a lot of crazy design elements in our line. So every piece should be a timeless staple in your wardrobe, a piece of you're getting a relationship with when you're wearing it and over the months, over the years. And I think this kind of relationships between the people who are wearing products, I think for me it's a very strong connection because it's on your body, it's part of your personality. And so for me, a very important kind of expressing personality or expressing a way of life or expressing whatever is important for the person. And
yeah, I mean, I think, at least in terms of like the design and the product and stuff, and Gitta, you had mentioned earlier that you were, you're sketching these things out. You're actually, this is not like, hey, we found a cool vintage piece and we just changed the sleeves, and I want to say, I don't think that that's lazy design for people who do that, but I think it's almost like this higher plane of clothing design when it's pencil and paper, when yes, you're solving a problem, you're figuring out, what makes this special. But I think the marriage of an actual design from your head and then figuring out how that works its way into the functionality of the individual who wears it is a really, really difficult thing to do. And I think that people don't often understand what that is. I think there's a lot of kind of like, menswear and women's wear assumptions that clothing brands are just, I'm air quoting now, like vibes. It's just a cool background and then a sweater around a shoulder and like that's it. But to see how much thought and what the process is going into making these things, and so with that in mind, like, what were each of your backgrounds like before you guys came into Merz?
So we both were, we studied fashion design on university or at university, and we both worked as freelance fashion designers for some brands over the years, a lot of years. And we gained experience. And of course, if you make collections, we created concepts, logos, full collections. We even created like interior design items like chinaware and shoes and jewelry at one point and children's backpacks. I mean, we were even in active wear. We did like, snowboarding and like literally everything. And we always enjoyed like, okay, this is a new exciting challenge. Like at one point, for a very well-known German brand, we even did like marketing research for cosmetics and like hair care.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Like how should the bottle look like? How should the logo look like? What kind of smell should it have? So it was always like very exciting to deep dive into new fields. And after some years of experience, we said, we're doing all this for other brands, which is amazing. And it never gets boring. But why don't we do it for ourselves? That would be amazing. And then this really nice coincidence. I mean, we had that thought for, I think, several years, but we always said, like, if there's a moment that the correct or the perfect idea would come to our mind or something just passes our way, then we're going to do it, but we're not going to force it. So, and then at one point, this very nice coincidence happened and we found that old handy at the flea market. And at that point, my husband directly looked at me and said, like, I think our time has come. Now we're going to start our own thing. And that's how it started. I'm like, yeah, maybe.
Because this was 2011, right?
It was, the found was 2010, and we presented in January 2011 the first collection then, and in Berlin, Paris, and New York.
Yeah. I think when you make something for yourself and that's personal, it's almost like you're your most difficult critic.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know what? Before it seemed, now when I compare it, it seems so easy because you never really think about, would I personally stand with my name behind it? Because you do it. I mean, you do your very best, but it's for a different company and you try to get their DNA into the product. But once you have to define your own DNA, it's like something different. It's like, oh gosh, do we really want the sleeve 1 centimeter higher or shorter? And do we want 1 button or 2 buttons? And suddenly you overthink everything like hundreds of times, and it gets really challenging and nerdy.
Yeah. So, and even with our white T-shirt, so I think we are already working again of a kind of better modified pattern. So, which is then the 6th generation. So there are always things to be, from our point of view, we can improve. And so even with our best-selling white T-shirt, we see there are tiny detail here and there we could improve, and we go for it because we are product nerds and we love products, we love details.
Yeah, but I think with, how you all have evolved Merz, everything is purposeful. And I'm curious, what part in your life or in your history did you learn restraint? Because I think that is a really, really rare gift. And most people who make clothing or or design clothing, that's the hardest thing to learn is what not to put in to something.
Oh gosh, there you got me really. I mean, sometimes we have so many more items here on the rack, and then we're kind of like forced to, no, this has to go out. I mean, you're just putting it on point. I mean, this is the most challenging because you always have like these tons of ideas in your head and you want everything to do. But at the end, when we have the protos, we wear them, we try to fix them into our wardrobe, and we have a look, and then we see like, is this really the correct blue tone? I mean, does it fit to that denim and to that? Would I wear it like that? And then after trying it the 3rd and the 4th time and giving it to friends, maybe like another proto and getting their feedback, at one point you're like, nah, maybe we don't need that blue tone. Or maybe we don't need the long version of that pullover. Maybe the short version is just good enough at this point in time. So then it's kind of like the selective period that at the end we really go through the rack and say, okay, these are the items I would wear. And this one, there is maybe a question mark. Let's put it on hold. Let's put it on hold or postpone. Let's postpone.
Yeah. And I think for us, it's also very useful that we set it kind of limitations. So we have a lot of limitations, which are part of our creative work, or in terms of design process. It starts with the fabric. The composition of a fabric is limited, so we don't use any no polyester, nothing like this. Then we
natural fibers.
Just natural fibers. In terms of cotton, it has to be organic cotton, which is another limitation because there are a lot of nice fabrics in the market, but they are not available in organic. So we have this kind of limitations, which are for us important to be,
responsible?
Yes.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, it's also a limitation, which helps us also to be more focused because, like Gitta said, there are always a lot of ideas and a lot of thoughts. And but then when we are going deeper into the process, then we follow our rules, our design setups, and trying to get the best product out of this. And so even in Portugal, there's a lot of things on the market, also in terms of fabrics. But every fabric we are using in our line, it's specially made for us, and I think this is also kind of important for us. And on the other hand, this is also a feedback we very often hear from our retail partners or from our end consumers. So they are saying like, so when we feel your product, it feels different. It's something different to other things. So I think we kind of be very happy about it, that we are creating even the fabric together with factories in Portugal, but creating even the fabric like we want to have it, and which makes our product world even more complete. And
yeah, your textile development is incredible, and I think it's a very, very difficult thing to do. Where so I had ordered a sweater from you all, like a nice kind of jumper, and it from opening up the box, it's beautiful. It was a nice kind of heavy navy wool, but I put it on and I didn't realize that there was like a gusset detail design underneath the armpit. There was the way that it was knit to shape my shoulder better, and it wasn't something like a raglan sleeve like I'm wearing now, or some sort of just saddle stitch or some sort of detail. Like you could see not just the fabric development, but also the pattern development on this. And I think that's like my favorite kind of clothes, are these things where you have to kind of like go and look again. Like, I said this on something else, but it was like, I feel like a lot of your products, you really got to zoom in on to see what makes them so special and so unique. And it's, for me, it was just like, it became my favorite sweater that I wore.
Oh, that's so nice. I'm really smiling. It's so nice to hear.
Yeah, no, it's great. And it fit really well, especially like for me, I tend to wear a lot of raglan stuff because my shoulders are so square. But I think also, and this is the sweet spot that I think you all have done a really good job on, is making products that I'll say that they're luxury products in terms of how they feel and how they wear and how they last, but also how you sell it, how you merchandise it. It's not so precious that you're going to get it and never wear it. And I say that as a person who shops a lot. And there are a lot of brands, I'm curious if this has happened with you, where you buy it and you're like, I got it, I'm so excited. And then you put it in the closet and you're never going to get it out because like, well, is today the day? Is today the day that I wear this? And you're like too scared to enjoy the product. And so in essence, it's useless because it just sits in a hanger and you're too scared to enjoy it. But all of your stuff, I feel, is very inviting to use and to wear. And I mean, that's super important for me.
It's so nice to hear. First of all, thank you so much for the kind words about the jumper. And you really, really mentioned exactly what our aim is, like to make products that feel very, very precious in terms of the quality and the fabric, but not too precious that what you mentioned, you're afraid to wear it. But we always say at the beginning, when we went to the fairs and people ask us, like, what is this product about? And the only thing we always said, like, yeah, it's your good companion that, will be with you in the hopeful, very joyful moments, hopefully. And like every day. And this is exactly what we get up every morning to do that. And because we're so aware, if you are wearing something that you feel comfortable in, I don't know, I think it really changes your mood and the way you present yourself, the way you feel. If it doesn't have to be something like out, very eye-catching. It's just that you feel so comfortable that you have this kind of radiance, and it's not about the garment. It's about the garments making you shine somehow, or making you and supporting your charisma or your appearance and your personality. Exactly. And then maybe in the second side, people say like, oh, and by the way, what kind of pullover is that you're wearing? But first they saw you and not just the pullover or the jumper.
Very true.
That's what, this is always what we keep in mind. So also when we make colors or when we create the color palette, of course we want to not just go for white and blue and black, but it also has to be a color that always looks like charming on your skin. And, not that you walk around and people see you as a pullover, not as a person.
Right.
Yeah, I think that this is also kind of our limitations. So we are more of kind of doing kind of silent products. And I think one of the most silent products you can wear is a white T-shirt. So we are doing very well in white T-shirts and silent products, as Gitta already mentioned, is that this is doesn't shadow your personality. So you as a human with your individual personality is the focus and not a crazy product.
Yeah, I mean, how has that been for you all? As you know, the bear happened. Obviously, there was a huge amount of success with the white shirt. Some people, as a person who's I'll say this, I admit my own cynicism and jaded individual, that I got a little upset at one point where I was like, hey, this is my secret. I'm wearing these shirts. I don't want everyone else to have them. but as a brand owner and a designer, how does it make you feel when everyone's wearing your brand, but nobody knows who's not wearing your brand, in the sense, like, because there's no logos, and how did you navigate that, or did you really care? Because I think some people will be like, oh, well, my brand got successful, but I want to see my logo everywhere. I want to be Philip Plein, I want I want some loud logos everywhere and all the fame. And I think you two are perfectly content to just, not chase that down.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think every brand has its own individual approach, and everything also, I know, that's perfectly fine. We both are not the persons to wear brands.
Yeah.
Not showcasing them with big logos. For us, it was more about the product. It's not so much about the brand. I mean, if somebody is wearing our T-shirt, our pullover, and is happy with that, that's super nice. And what we found out is we always read in the end of day report from the stores that, how do you say it, like word of mouth was a reputation. And I think like, oh, but that's so nice. If people talk about it, I mean, even if there's not a big logo, but what better can happen? That's so nice. People are talking about it. So,
it's great. Yeah.
So at the end, that's totally fine. For me, it's totally fine.
Yeah, for me as well. And I think we both are on the same page. We got so much fame, even if there is no logo through the bear. We never expected, and we never were on this kind of trip that we need to get kind of famous or whatever. So again,
it was a very, very, very lucky coincidence.
Yeah.
I mean, we could have never, ever even dreamt about that. That was like
maybe also a result of a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you make things that are good, people will find them and like them and wear them. I think most designers and people who run brands, I mean, it's the lightning in a bottle. I mean, everyone wants that sort of story where something like that happens, but I think it's really difficult to then find out what you do next. Because I think in this case, even though it wasn't a direct correlation, you launched a retail store in New York. And that is also, as a person who's worked in retail and opened a retail store in New York from brands that existed outside of the United States, it's very challenging. So I'm curious, what led to opening a place in New York?
Oh, yeah. This is like, most of our decisions are very, how do you say, like gut driven. Mm-hmm. So maybe sometimes if we would be a little more that we would write it down, like, oh, the pros and cons, maybe the one or the other decision we wouldn't take as actively, like, oh, let's go for that. And then we're always like so passionate and we forget like, okay, there are some challenges we have to take. I mean, we're not naive. I mean, for that, we're too long in the business. But I mean, the idea opening a store in New York already was in our head, like, really, really long ago. It was even before Merz. I mean, we were always walking around Soho, even as students when we met, and we were like, oh gosh, what about if one day we would have a store in New York? And you won't believe it, but I was still a student. Peter was already finalized, and we were walking through New York, and we really set an appointment with an agent to look at stores just to kind of get the feeling how it feels like. And I mean, we're talking about ages ago, like really long ago. And I remember at that time in Soho, there was this huge space with these beautiful old pillars. And I think we still have some photos. And we said, yeah, we want to open a store in New York. And she's like, oh, okay. And I mean, at that time, we didn't have any money, no own collection, like nothing. And we went out and we're like, gosh, this poor lady, she spent her time with us. But we really wanted just to have a glimpse of how would it feel if. And now when we really went into the space to talk about renting it out with the landlord, we were looking at it and like, remember, like long time ago, I don't know, it was not Canal Street. I think it was one of the other streets, but it was like as if no time had passed since then.
Oh
it
God.
felt as if it was the day before. And it was like, and now it's getting real. It's like amazing. It just led one point to the other. I even wrote my diploma about opening a store in New York. Like my
What?
Yeah, like my master's. Yeah. It was like making at that time, I mean. And so that's why we also took the photos to put it in there. And Peter was always New York fan. For him, it was like, yeah, sure, one day. And but
yeah, so it was a kind of coincidence in a way. It was during market in July 2023, and we visited our friend Andrew from Knickerbocker, and he had a sample sale next to his store, and we were talking, and so Gitta asked him, "Oh, you are doing a sample sale. Is this place free? Is this available?" And he said, "Yes, I think so. It's the same landlord as ours, so I can connect you." And we said, "Yeah, but we don't have so much time. We are leaving tomorrow." And and yeah, no way. I text him directly, and so we had a meeting at the same day in the afternoon.
Oh my God!
Yeah. With the landlord, and yeah, so this was the beginning of a kind of journey from July to November 2023, setting up a company in New York, doing the lease with the landlord and all these things from abroad. So it was a kind of administrative thing.
Sounds like a nightmare that you're being very polite about.
Okay, there are two circumstances which were very, very helpful, which is that my wife and our son, who is meanwhile also part of our business, and he started when we came up with this idea. They have both the US citizenship and a social security number, which
that helps.
That helps, yeah. This circumstances made administration work easier. Let's say it like this, but it was
I think doing retail though also makes you think more about how your brand is experienced from other people. You know, there's a lot of designers have talked about this whenever they've met or gotten advice from Ralph Lauren. The advice that he's given every, brand is open a retail store, because you really get to create that physical world that your product exists in for the customer before they get to purchase it. Because I think, many people who are buying clothes or trying to figure something out, if you're buying clothes at a third-party retailer, you get their experience. And that's okay. But when you own your own retail store, and obviously this wasn't new for you all because you had a store in Europe, in Germany. But I think making a store in the US, and I say this as a person who, I worked at a store where, there was a Hong Kong location. So I worked for the Armory, and there was a specific vibe that we wanted to create there. And then opening the US one, there was a lot of stuff that we had to change because the US customer was different, how we were now constrained by the size of the store and what sort of furniture we wanted to put in. So when you were all putting that together, what was your thought process going into which how you were making this new experience in the US for a brand that people hadn't been that familiar with yet?
I think in terms of store design, we were very aligned that we want to keep this kind of design approach we had in our Berlin store, which is this kind of time traveling through decades from the 20s to the 60s, from Bauhaus to mid-century, using vintage furniture, using refurbished things to be also on this side kind of sustainable, which is also important, very important for us. So we were searching for all this furniture here in Europe together with an amazing partner who they helped us with finding furnitures and also putting everything into a container, shipping it to New York and all this.
So you got the furniture in Europe and shipped it over?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
We even bought some stuff on eBay. It's like in Berlin, we bought every single piece on our own, like literally even went by car to some places to pick it up. And for the second one, New York, we said like, okay, this was like so time consuming. We really need somebody. And by coincidence, we met this couple in the cafe we're always going in the morning, this coffee shop. And we're like, and I'm always like very chatty. And I just said like some days before to my husband, like, okay, if we're going to open a store in New York, if we want all this really timeless classics, like this Danish interior mid-century furniture, I checked it in the US. It's like 5 times as expensive as in Europe. I think we should find a way that we source it in Europe and then somehow ship it to the US. And we're like, oh gosh, ship furniture to the US. This sounds really complicating. And I mean, you won't believe it. This is like such a weird story. He was going to, order the coffee. I was sitting next to this couple and I said to the guys like, hey, what are you doing for, a living? What's your job? And they're like, oh, we're interior designers and architects and we're specialized in shipping mid-century stuff around the world. And I'm like, what? And we're like, we're just preparing
come sit here.
We're preparing a container for Mexico because we're just, making the interior design for a house in Mexico City. And I'm like, so if we want to open a store in New York, would you help us? And they're like, yeah. So we sat together and we did it. And like, actually those guys, they made everything happen. They sourced, they even went to Copenhagen. And because we have this Paul Codavius wall in our store. Yeah. And it's a very seldom find. So they went to Copenhagen to find that one and like all the lounge chairs and everything. And then they wrapped it and they put it in, they had to weigh everything. They had to put it in the container. So that was really an adventure. And they went with us to New York and helped us set up the store. And
they were, so we all together unloaded the container, which was for a couple of minutes in front of our store in Canal Street.
Oh my God.
So we...
a lot of... cars, how do you say when they honk the horn?
A lot of traffic.
With this huge container on the street.
Let's get it out of the container. And so this was another maybe it's sent from the universe. Maybe it's a coincidence, however you will see it. So for us, it's more than just a coincidence. So I think finding this place and finding people which are on an amazing support side to make things happen. I think there are always a lot of things happens when and that's our belief, when you follow your gut feeling and not just sitting and writing pro and cons and doing a business plan for a New York store. It's then you're on the right path. And so after 1 year, we can say we are on the right path. It was a super year. We learned so much. We learned the differences between Berlin customers and New York customers.
Oh, yeah.
There are a lot of differences. Products we are selling well in Berlin. They are not selling at all in New York. And so we learned a lot, and we are more than happy that we followed our feeling and opened this store in New York, which also connects us more with the city and
the customers. I mean, at the beginning, for weeks, we were also on the floor working, And,
oh, wow.
Yeah. We also do that here in Berlin. So this is because we always go to the fair still, like the two of us, and talk to the retailers and get their feedback, which I think is absolutely valuable to get like the direct feedback. But as you mentioned, being in the floor, in the store, working as a sales associate in this case, it gives so much insight, and the collection has really evolved, especially since we were in New York, because we had also like so many good inspirational ideas from customers. They said, I'm looking for a pullover with a collar like this. And I was like, I always have my little notebook handy, and like directly, I'm like, okay, how do you envision this? What? And if a second and maybe a third person comes and asks for that, I mean, I would be stupid not to get this into my next concept, and because this is what people are looking for and that what they ask for. And so many nice pieces have, been created in this way.
But I think that says a lot about your ego, too, to call that out, because I think there are different types of designers who view, I am the expert and you are just going to buy what I make. And it's because my stuff is so good. And okay, that may work for some people. And, and obviously that doesn't always last. But I think for you, and this is the thing that I like so much and admire so much about Merz, is the fact that, yes, there is specific design and there's stuff that's within conviction and you can see how it ties back to you all. But I mean, I'm not going to lie, this is news to me that you're literally talking to customers at the store and getting their input in some of these designs.
Yeah, absolutely, because we can only be as good as the customers like it and buy it. I mean, we can do the craziest design, but if nobody's going to buy it, then it's a hobby and it's going to cost us a lot of and then we have to find an investor who is willing to support that financially. But we really want to sell our products because we want to see our products being worn in nature, how do you say, in real, people. And then I think, no, for me, it's always the nicest to talk to the people and ask them. And if they say, I'm looking for a brown tone, I'm asking, what kind of brown? More like a reddish brown or yellow or more dark or more chocolate. So even the sales staff, I always ask them to write me down if they have the sales associate, if they have ideas, if they got feedback from the customers when I was not there on the floor. And as mentioned before, I mean, a lot of really nice products have been created through this way because,
So we always said the end consumer is paying every bill in a way, because even if you are selling through retail, at the end of the day, the end consumer is paying the bill. So you can sell it once, maybe twice to a retail store. But when the end consumer doesn't buy it in the retail store, then the business doesn't work. And so at the end, it's all about the end consumer. And so talking to them and open to adapt ideas or whatever thoughts they have into our collection.
Yeah. People already get and understand your brand, but I think a lot of times the joy of that understanding comes from learning about who's behind that brand. And I think it gives people a deeper sense of connection because now, and I think this is something that people want to know more about, is I think people are connecting less and less with brands and more with designers, right? Let's take Gucci for an example. For a long time, it wasn't Gucci that people were buying. it was, Alessandro Michele, right? Like it was him.
Mm.
And I think many of these larger brands have fought tooth and nail to find a way to look smaller. And I think one of the great advantages that you all have too is that you are a founder design and led brand. And so when you get to understand the people that are actually putting their own blood, sweat, and tears into the product, it becomes something that is, really appreciated and really enjoyed. And I mean, I think for me, that's my favorite thing about trying to do these shows is to really make that human connection. Because at the end of the day, some of these really, really, really large luxury brands were like, yeah, but like there's no soul. Like it's thick advertising and brand marketing and someone else trying to make up a story for you. But, and that was why I got so excited when you started talking about how some of these products are just based off of feedback. I just think it's kind of unheard of. I mean, you're not getting that as much as you used to back in the day, right?
Mm.
If you had an old haberdashery somewhere and someone's giving you feedback on the design, I mean, that's perfect. But over time, it became this sort of like dictated relationship into which the brand says, well, this is what I'm making and this is what you're going to buy.
Mm.
And I think now there's this beautiful marriage between, but like I'm coming to Merz because I want your taste. I want your input. Oh, okay. You're wearing the chinos this way. They're a little bit baggier. They're a little bit lower rise. Or, I noticed how you all have this kind of chore coat designed with this. I would have never put that in my wardrobe. But because I trust you and because I'm learning about you, I'm now incorporating that. And I think that's a really interesting product and, customer journey that many of these brands are now becoming more okay with.
So yeah, and it makes fun, to be honest. I think it's so enjoyable to talk to the customers and get their ideas. I mean, like people are so creative and they have really like a sense of what they would love to wear. And it's always like a give and take.
Yeah.
I mean, especially as our brand is mainly about fabrics and the haptics.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, now people, for instance, they can come to the store and they can touch all the different fabrics. Before because we are still also in the customer service team. I mean, we don't write the emails anymore. We have a great team, but every week we're gonna have a meeting and we're asking like, what's the feedback of our customers? So we're very into that. And we had a lot of requests from US customers as well that they said like, oh yeah, I would really love to feel more of your fabrics. And as retailers, I mean, they make their selection, which is fine. But we said like, yeah, that's really so true. I mean, nobody has the chance, unless they're traveling to Berlin and to our store here, to have really the opportunity to feel all the fabrics of the collection. Yeah. And that was also one of the main advantages or pros that we said, let's make that open that store in the US, because then we can say, if you're once in New York, maybe you can just stop by and have a look at the fabrics and touch them and get like really an idea what it's all about. And this is so nice to see and hear when we're in the store that people really do that. They say like, I came from Chicago and I was really so curious about your fabric. So I stopped here to touch them. And we're like, wow, that's so nice. So that was really like one of the main initial ideas as well. And if they take the chance and opportunity to do that, then we're very happy about that.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that's stuff that every brand that sells digitally these days, I mean, that's always the biggest hurdle. And it's worked the other way around in the sense that like I ordered a shirt the other day from a brand and I was really excited about it. And I saw it online. I will admit I purchased it pretty late at night, so maybe I was a little foggy. But I get this piece and it finally comes in and I open up the box. And I will say, the box was very tightly packaged. But when I opened it, I was like, well, what the hell is this? There's just like a piece of paper in there, some receipt. I was like, oh yeah, I guess I got this. And I open it up and I hold up the shirt and I'm like, oh my God, this fabric is awful. It's really scratchy. And here's the other thing. The color is not the color that I thought. And I put it on and my wife was like, ooh. She's like, I don't think that was made for your skin tone. And I was like, oh wow, what a dagger of a thing. I was like, okay. She's like, so what are you gonna do? Are you gonna keep that? And I was like, well, I mean, I got it. I mean, I kind of assumed it would fit with this and this. And she's like, yeah, I don't know. I'd get rid of it. And I was so mad. And I feel like that's a thing where, that I think that happens more often than people realize when you're just shopping online. Like that's why physical retail is so important, where you can go in, you can touch it, you can see the fabrics in real life, you can see what the color looks like on you, and it's funny because this sounds so foreign to me, right? Like imagine if someone 30 years ago heard what I'm saying right now, they'd be like, yeah, everything is physical retail. Just go to, a department store. But it's like, it's very rare that happens these days.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But we have to admit, it's sometimes really a challenge to get the color
absolutely
online like it is in real. How do you say? Because especially as we have like this different shades of white tones and a different shade of grayish, or this taupe that's a little darker. And gosh, sometimes we're sitting and editing the photos like crazy. And then we're looking on different monitors and like, oh, no, on that screen, it looks far too gray. And look, here it's almost like a pink tone. And we have to, so it's sometimes really challenging. And we put a lot of effort into that as well to get from our side the best possible result. But I know there's still so much more space for improvement, but we have to do it step by step. I mean, we're not like a huge corporation, and we're working and we're doing that like full of passion. But yeah, there's...
Yeah, I mean, I tell people this now too, where it's like if you're shopping, especially if you're shopping late at night, and I didn't say that as like I was under the influence. I said late at night because everyone's phones now change colors at night. Yeah. And so the color that I'm viewing on the screen, because I have, night shift or whatever mode it is on my iPhone, there's much, it's not so cool. It's very warm. And I get it because it's protecting the blue light and stuff from my face. But that's a big deal when you're buying a blue shirt that is gray, So I was like, oh, whoops. But anyway, I digress. I wanted to chat about both of your personal style and how it kind of informs the design. I mean, we're sitting here, we're having this chat. Your two style, I mean, we're two different color palettes here. Peter in the mostly all black and Gitta in the cream. As you all are putting yourself together every morning, or when you first got into fashion, who were the people or the things that were inspiring to you?
So for me, it was during my teenager time, I was crazy about fashion. So at that time, it was Fiorucci, it was playful, it was colorful, it was crazy. And when I started with fashion design, for my personal taste, my personal wardrobe, it completely changed into a uniform. At that time, it was an original Levi's Big E, a white T-shirt, engineer boots, a leather jacket, and some kind of shirts, woven shirts. At one point, chambray shirts. Then Levi's started with LVC, with the Levi Vintage, which helped me to keep my uniform on a lower cost base because original Big E's it was.
That's quite the flex to wear Big E these days. Yeah.
It was very
I have to say, when we got met the first time, and it was very clear that we're gonna stay together and marry, and I think it was even the very first evening you said, I just have to tell you something very important. Never, ever wash my denims. And I'm like, what? I told my friend, gosh, that's weird. What did you tell me? I didn't know anything about Big E's and red selvage and raw denim. And I'm like, what did you just say? And he's like, just don't wash anything from my clothes. And I'm like, okay, I can live with that.
Yeah, it's funny. I do all the laundry at our home because I have to, certain things I want to hang dry. Also, certain times I'm like, you know what, I want to put that in the dryer. But you know what? Actually, I'm going to dry this outside. Like I am very specific in how I want my clothes.
Yeah,
Same.
yeah,
I
same,
can live with that. It's very
Yeah.
easy.
So, and this kind of style was my uniform for years. And then with the beginning of this heritage trend, I had the feeling that's maybe not the right uniform anymore for me as personal. And at that time, I developed this chino, which is now our Chino 01. And I ordered fabric in Japan and brought the fabric to a tailor shop in Berlin. So this was the change from Levi's vintage Big E white T-shirt, chambray shirt into all black. So now I'm the Black Swan. That's my pseudonym in the company.
I like it. No, I mean, it looks great.
So it keeps still my life simple in terms of having a uniform, and I have so many different blacks in my wardrobe. And now I'm wearing one of our new developments, the thermal long sleeve for autumn winter 25, which Gitta created, and it's one of my favorite new black pieces in my wardrobe.
With a lot of structure, yes.
Gitta, what about you?
When I was a student, my go-to designer at that time was Jill Sander. So that was like really what I was always looking at, like, oh gosh, that's amazing. And also Ralph Lauren.
Yeah.
But more in a sense, I like this person, he always inspired me so much, like this building up a brand like he did. I don't know. It was always, So as I couldn't afford Jill Sander and even not Ralph Lauren at that time. So most of my items I designed on my own and sewed during, my studies. So that was quite easy, actually.
So you're making your own clothes?
Yeah.
Is that...
Yeah. Making.
Okay.
So we studied that, like fashion design, pattern making, sewing, like everything. So actually I only wore my own designed clothes and some denim, that's
pretty cool.
So that was quite easy. And actually, to be honest, it didn't look so much different than the things that we're doing today. I mean, if I still have some old stuff.
Yeah.
I think in one of our big boxes.
Yeah.
I think it's very alike.
And also Gitta likes breaking this feminine with masculine pieces. She's a big fan of the M65 military jacket. And I think this very nice break. So this feminine with this
very Jill Sander.
Military jacket and
and we're very lucky because we used to do design for Alpha Industries for over 11 years. So the M65, we have like almost the whole wardrobe just full of Alpha Industry jackets. So like military, and I really like that, and it's quite simple. So I just go to my closet in the morning and it's more like, actually this pullover, I think I have 5 times in that color and 5 times in a black. So it's very easy. I just take it, one of our black pants, and I'm done. So.
Okay. Honest question. So with what you said, how long does it take for you to get dressed in the morning?
2 minutes.
Damn it. Okay. Peter, you?
Max. He takes longer.
For me, it takes longer because I'm literally ironing my chino every morning.
Every morning.
Really? Yeah. Every morning?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So
respect.
That takes, of course, longer.
I have different stages now into how I get dressed in the morning, because I have to get up a little bit earlier to get the kids out the door and make sure they're all at school and everyone's got their snacks and their water bottles and all that. And that's usually phase 1 of my of getting dressed. And also because I work from home, I'm like, well, maybe I'll go to the gym after I drop them off, and then after that, then I really get dressed.
Okay.
And then it's like, okay, the gym's done, the drop-off's done. Yeah. Now I really want to put a fit together. And I think I recognize, so my wife, she doesn't do any of that. And she always looks great. She just grabs, a shirt, jeans, whatever. And I'm really struggling to try to like, how could I have one like just getting dressed and that's my thing for the day. And so I admire anyone who's able to just grab something and go. But I just have too many different phases and getting dressed. And even now we're going to Copenhagen tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
And thanks. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I don't want to check anything. So, I'm laying my clothes out on the floor. I'm trying to figure out what's going to fit with what, and I was like, oh, okay, should I bring 4 pairs of pants? I'm going to be there a week. I'm a nutcase. And even then, I've been in clothing for 15 years now. I still can't unlock the confidence of just getting dressed in the morning.
But I think that's also nice. I mean, I know a lot of people who do that, and that's beautiful. I think I would put more effort into it if I would have more time. But as we're working so much, I just like, oh gosh, we just have to go out. And but actually, as I really enjoy these styles, I don't really think about it and just put it on. And sometimes the only thing is the weather can be very unpredictable here in Berlin. So you go out in the morning and maybe the sun is even coming out and you think, oh, it's going to be a warmer day. So I put on a little lighter sweatshirt or pullover. And then in the evening, it's so cold. And I always take some protos like randomly. And sometimes it's like so weird. They still have like these huge stickers where I wrote like handwritten, like first proto, the sleeves are too tight and the sleeve is too long. And then I forget that it's this huge sticker on the back. And sometimes like on our way home, we say like, oh, let's go for a little like faux soup or something before we have to cook it. I'm like, okay. And I'm sitting down. And then maybe at one point I go to the stand up and go somewhere. And then my husband's like, gosh, you still have the sticker on the back all the time. I'm like, oh God, I forgot it. It's like, and people are looking at me. Oh,
that's great.
We had some really funny things, or tags hanging out.
Yeah. But it also happens quite often when you are buying something new, then you're wearing it and you forgot to remove the hang tag. So the hang tag is somewhere hanging and around.
I had a trench coat for a year that had the hang tag in it. Oh. And every time I would put it on, I'd be like, oh, it's like, I got to take the tag off. Yeah. But then when I took the jacket off, I'd be like, I'll just deal with it later. For a whole year, just this hang tag, just hanging on the inside.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's really so funny.
Before we wrap, I want to talk about some other stuff. The recent collection you did is based off of Ventura Highway by America, but I'm curious how much music or what bands kind of fit into the Merz world.
Oh, so I really like the California 70s music, but that's because I was born in the US because my dad was an engineer at IBM and he was, at Silicon Valley at that time. So I spent my childhood in California, and my mom, she always used to hear this kind of music. So I really got a very strong connection. It's a really nice memory, that I have. So I like that music. But
like the Laurel Canyon 1970s stuff, is that like CSN or Joni Mitchell or
like America or the Eagles, Fleetwood Mac, like these old things.
Oh yeah.
So what my mom used to hear at that time, I don't know. It's like I really like that, and but also a lot like modern music. But I'm really crazy. You can ask Nico, our son-in-law, who's also in the company. He's always already making fun of me because I always try to tag like Shazam everywhere, the music. And if people are talking, it's like really difficult to get
it.
So
be quiet. I'm trying to get this song.
I always go to the speakers and hold up my hand like, and he's like, oh gosh, what are you doing in the restaurants? But I'm always like tagging like crazy. How do you say like tagging? In Germany, we say it like that, like the music. Yeah. So I have a lot of playlists, but I cannot really tell you what kind of music it is. It's just like everything.
Yeah, I think it's also about keeping the connection to the place you were alive. Then when you Shazam something at a very special place, and when you hear it couple of months later, then you are again connected in a way. And so for me, I'm more like on the modern jazz side. Yeah, East Coast and John Coltrane, Miles Davis, especially their live acts, because what I really like when all the musicians are doing their kind of solo, especially on live concerts, really like this, which is so my kind of favorite music. And we both, but I really enjoyed this TV show, Bosch, this LA detective, because his amazing sound system with the Macintosh amplifier and always playing jazz. So I was always with my Shazam close to the TV to get some new inspiration for my jazz music. And luckily, my father-in-law, he's also, or maybe he was more a huge jazz enthusiastic. And during his time in the US, it was the change from mono into stereo.
Oh, yeah.
He bought so many mono records for just $1 or less. And he had a huge couple of hundred jazz records at his home. And I already have a couple of them. And
some hundred already, but we don't have the space for all. I mean, he has so many.
I'm welcome every day to pick up more, but...
I feel like the stereo is the final frontier of real adulthood, because for me, I worked in the music industry for a long time, and so I was getting tons of records.
Yeah.
But we had this tiny apartment in Brooklyn, and when my wife and I had gotten married, I had just a wall of vinyl.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, you're not going to keep that. And so much of it I just gave away because I was like, I'm just going to go digital. I'm just going to use Spotify or whatever. And now it's one of my biggest regrets. And so I'm trying to find a way to slowly build back, the library of music that I had, and especially create like a nice stereo system at home. And I want to sit in a little sweet spot and just listen to music. But it's funny you'd mention jazz, because I feel like, for a lot of people, this like level of enlightenment or some sort of like musical, enjoyment you end up finding jazz as the most like true form, because it's completely impulsive, but it has to work within this frame. And so I very much envy anyone who's got like a killer stereo setup.
Yeah. What kind of music is your favorite?
Well, it's funny you mentioned it. So I'm getting my kids into the Beatles.
Nice.
But I also feel like at times it's like, for me, it's a complete disservice to music to only stay with one specific time frame in one era and never venture outside of it. So I'm always trying to challenge myself to, what new music is out there? What are people doing in terms of shaping the culture and the technology that they're using? So I also kind of view it as almost like a responsible thing I need to do to just be aware of other types of music and bands.
But it's so interesting that you say that, with the responsibility to also open up for more modern things. This is exactly what we also try to do with the collection. I mean, we have our heritage with the originals, which are they're originally made. They're made on these really old loop wheelers. And of course, the styles are very vintage inspired. I mean, we have the entire showroom full with hundreds of old pieces, because you mentioned it at the beginning, like taking a vintage piece. I mean, we also have vintage pieces there where we take a lot of inspiration from. But also, this is the nice thing with Portugal, because in Portugal, we have this very modern possibilities of making textiles. And we always try to, especially with the Portuguese-made products, bring in more this kind of contemporary style, and without losing our DNA, without being not aware of our core of the brand. But still, I think, we have some oversized shirts meanwhile, and it doesn't always have to look like vintage or heritage. No, there we're playing with colors, like, dusted pink for men's. We had this dusted pink or rosewood colored cardigan. And this is, I think, what's it all about, to not get stuck in a time and say, oh, the good old times. In terms of design, this is our daily approach, and also the way how we produce it. Yes, we produce on the old loop wheeler, but on the other hand, we're looking for very sustainable ways and methods, which is very important for us. So we say, okay, we cherish what was in the past. We are absolutely aware of our responsibility, what is to come in the future. And this is why we get up every morning, because we want to put it into action in our now and here and the present. So you could call it like combining time and decades, and hopefully being part of, also creating like a good future. Because also textiles can be, doesn't have to, but harmful for the environment.
Absolutely. Yeah, unfortunately, yes.
So, for example, we really wanted to do like a dip dye for summer. But when we always ask, like, how's the process? How is it made? And when they told us that it's a lot of chemicals they have to use and it's not a very sustainable way of dyeing, although I would have really loved to have it in the line, it's not an option for us. We say, okay, we're not going to do dip dye. That's the way it is. It's not only about using sustainable fabrics, like, okay, we're using organic cotton, or okay, we're just using natural fibers. We say every piece not bought is actually the most sustainable. So if you have some pieces that you really like, maybe you don't have to go tomorrow and buy a new one, because actually the one you bought yesterday doesn't really satisfy you. So you're going to go tomorrow and buy another one. So it's not that we don't want our customers to buy, no, but on the other hand, we really want them to enjoy their garments the longest possible time. And maybe it's then that they say, you know what, I really like this pullover or jumper. I don't really have to buy a new one now. I'm really happy and content with that one. This is also why we try to make like very thoughtful and timeless design.
That way it lasts. And I think it's great to hear that from a brand. There's, I was in Tokyo a few weeks ago, and I was talking with a brand, and he was like, a lot of people have been trying to get our stuff. And he said, I'm not very comfortable with it. I don't like it. And so in the store, we're actually telling people who have purchased a lot before, maybe to come back next year. And I'm like, what are you doing? I'm like, that is the dumbest thing you could ever do. And for him, he was like, he's like, I'm not worried, about anything like that. He's like, for me, we only have such a limited product. We're not going to make a bunch more. And I just, I don't think everyone needs, every single shirt I make and every single pant I make. And I sat there the rest of the dinner just completely, in awe of like the kind of confidence it takes to do that, because I think you have to have some level of confidence in the fact that you're going to sell so you can pay your bills. Regardless of whatever we want to call it, this is still a business, and people have to get paid, and you have to take care of a family and yourselves and stuff. But to really put a level of restraint on your consumer is unheard of. And of course, in this case, it completely backfired, because people are infuriated that they're told that they can't buy so much. And so people are trying to buy more. And so he's like, maybe I just shouldn't have said anything, He's like, and just kept it to myself. But it was fascinating to hear. And so, but I think it's very good and refreshing for any person who runs a brand to be like, hey, maybe you don't need something new. That's why the thing that you already bought is so great.
I mean, it's so funny because once, for example, we had a customer at the fair. I think it was one of the first exhibitions where we showed our stuff. And she was like, oh my gosh, I love it. I love it. And I'm going to buy this and I'm going to buy this and I'm going to buy this quantity and this and this. And I want that. And I'm like, wow, listen, this is the first season. You told me you have a small store. It sounds as if half of the store would be our brand. She's like, yeah, I really love it. And I'm like, why don't we start like really small?
Oh, yeah.
You try it. If you're happy and content and you see that you sell well, next season you buy a little more.
Yeah.
And the next one a little more. And then you test it. And she looked at me like, I'm doing this business for 30 years. Nobody ever has told me to buy less. She's like, that's amazing. You know what? We're going to do it like that. Till today, she's still a customer. And she's like, wow. I was like, what is she telling me? We could have sold her like quantities like immediately. But maybe that's a little bit our nature. We rather, we don't want to...
slow build.
Slowly build up and rather have content customers if it's the retailer or the customers who come to the store rather than, yay, I'm buying it all. And then, whoa. Now we have the confidence. Meanwhile, we know we have the experience that most of the time people are very content, but it was at the beginning. We didn't know, gosh, can we really deliver the goods in a very high quality way? Can we deliver on time? There were so many question marks still. And we said, we rather want to grow in a small and healthy way, which we still do till today.
But it's nice to hear that you're, that's how you're approaching your business and stuff too. I think, I remember a friend of mine, he had started a brand that way back in the kind of heritage menswear days. It really blew up and he had to scale really fast. And then, the trend kind of faded. And then he was left with this massive capital investment that he made into his brand that he couldn't really afford because now the sales sort of disappeared. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people don't always realize that can be, hype can also kill a brand when things get, because that brand is forced to meet that customer. And I think so many people are scared to tell a customer no or wait. But I think you guys have done a really good job with that. And it goes to show that, the confidence of your brand and your product is enough. So I think that's really beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Peter, Gitta, thank you so much for joining me today. This was a lot of fun. Before we say bye, is there anything you want to add or mention that I didn't discuss or we didn't get into?
That we also would like to say thank you to everybody who supports us to make this happen and who are believing in us.
Yeah.
And I do have a question. So if you have an idea for a piece where you're like, this would be a basic, I was really looking for like this neck shape or this neckline or this rib or this color, I would be more than happy to receive that. And maybe you find it in the next collection.
There you go. Cool. But thank you so much. It was great having you all.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you so much for having us.
You've been listening to Blammo. Our show is produced by Blammo Media. We're edited by Amar Lowell, and our theme music, as always, by the mysterious Breakmaster Cylinder. If you like what you heard, you know the drill. Share the pod with a friend. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Give us 5 stars or thumbs up on whatever other thing you're listening to us on, whether it's Dingledorp or Bing Bong, whatever it's called. But you can also follow us on Instagram for all the hot content. If you want to talk to us and give us your hot take, we'd love to hear from you. You can send us an email at info@blammopod.com. Last but not least, super ultra important. If I had a air horn, I would press it right now. You got to come and join us over on Patreon because the fun never stops over there. Look, the live show, the free show, whatever you want to call this, we take breaks here and there, but Patreon, it never stops. And we also got exclusive shows like Die Workwear, hosted by Derek Guy and Peter Zotolo, and the Triple J Show, hosted by yours truly with John Moy and Gene DeLeon. There's just a ton of stuff over there. So check it out at patreon.com/Blammo. If not, no worries. We got hundreds and hundreds of free episodes in the feed and more to come. So we will see you all soon.